have 19 minutes, and for the life of me, I couldn't figure out why Tom is not willing to give me that one extra minute, which would make me feel a lot better. But anyway, so I better take good use of that 19 minutes. So again, I want to talk about Sina Weibo and how brands can leverage the platform to build brands. So every time when we talk about social media, I think most brands, when they first think about is fans. So how do I grow the number of fans? But today, what I would like to talk about is what should brands think about beyond fans, is how to maximize this business value with Sina Weibo. So let's start looking at some of the numbers first. So Sina Weibo continues to grow from a user-based perspective. So we have over 536 million users now. On average, each user has over 200 fans. And especially that's within the high-quality user segments. Young, college-educated, a lot of them are from the top-tier cities in China. So they represent good, very strong purchasing power. And 60% plus of these users has smartphones. Engagement remains high. So some of the latest numbers, so now on average the active user spends over 60 minutes per day on Sina Weibo, and our latest numbers shows the monthly active users compared to the previous year was up 36%, while the daily active users was up 48%. And brands obviously have noticed all that, so more and more businesses have joined Sina Weibo. So some of the numbers here. So again, also compare 2013 over 2012. Fortune 500 companies, now we have close to 40% of the Fortune 500 companies have made presence on Sina Weibo. And within China, the China 500 largest enterprises, over 60% of them now on Weibo. And they're already seeing some results. So 335 million users in total are following brands on Sina Weibo. On average, each user follows 8 brands. And over 10 million users interact with brands on the monthly basis. And every day, 15 million, so the interactions between the users and brands, on every day, 15 million reposts, comments, messages are created between brands, consumers and brands every day. So that also generates 35 million daily page views for brands, and on any single day, there are over 1.6 billion daily impressions for brand content. So that's all good, very healthy number, big numbers. So what's next? How do we go beyond the number of fans, as I said? So I think the Sina Weibo, actually brands can use the platform in all the 3 areas, including what I call a social advertising, social CRM, and social commerce, going into each one of those fields. So social advertising, I think, is becoming more and more targeted and diverse. I like the Coca-Cola presentation this morning, talk about the evolution of the consumer markets from mass to segmented to targeted to network, and I think you can definitely see that on the social media platforms. So on Weibo now, we just announced this month, and we're going to start letting brands to do targeted posts based on UIDs, based on the users. So based on the numbers based on the data that you collect on the users, you can segment the users into different segments. You can target them, so you can basically talk to each individual of your fans differently. So you no longer have to send the generic message to all of your fans. Different kinds of feeds. So as I hope many of you are using Weibo now, you probably see some of these new different formats within your feeds. So some are trending topics, some are recommendation of books and things like that, recommendation of friends and people that you might know. So these are the opportunities, these are the different kinds of formats, within the feed. So we're testing this, for consumers first, but obviously we'll see opportunities for brands down the road there as well. Another area that I think that brands need to also consider using more is in the topics area, the hot topics. So brands can create, manage, or participate in these hot topics. So when you create your own topic, for a brand, then obviously as the host of the topic, that you can manage the content, manage the format. You have a lot of control over how you want the consumers to discuss that topic. You gain additional exposures. So now, again, from a product development perspective, we're really syncing the experience across the PC and the mobile platforms. So the brand has additional exposures, within that topic page, both on the PC and the mobile phones. And official promotions and fans growth. So we rank the hot topics. So as Thomas has shown that the Social Media Matters Hong Kong obviously is the #1 trending topic this morning in Hong Kong. So same thing that we rank the hottest trending topics on Weibo every hour. So when your topic is getting a lot of discussions, then the platform will also promote that. So you get additional promotions, and then you also gain fans because everybody who participates in that discussion on the topic page will automatically become your fans. And increase the host influence, and I'll show you some examples that by aggregating the conversations, the discussions, and the users, and actually amplifies the brand's influence over these users. So here are some examples, what I call the multiple brand exposures opportunities. So this is within a topic page. As you can see, there are different areas where brands can appear from a brand exposures perspective. They can sponsor certain topics. They have different areas. Again, that's a post made by the brand. It can have kind of the top line, headline in the feeds. More people can see the brand-related posts, different exposures. So now the second example here. So this is when brands create a conversation, a topic. And so this, again, as I said, you have more control over the content and the format. So this is the Coca-Cola campaign and the Coca-Cola topic that they created. So they create this page, can really help them to aggregate different kind of contents. The host is being the Coca-Cola, and these are the users, again, showing up the latest users who are participating in the conversation. So that was social advertising. As I said, I think it's going to become more targeted and more diverse. So now we can talk about the social CRM a little bit. And I think, again, once you have these fans, a lot of brands are still accumulating the number of fans. But then what do you do with them? So I would like to suggest that you consider turning them into BFFs, so the best friends forever or best fans forever, whatever you want to call it. So that's, I think, all fall under the realm of social CRM. But I want to bring out a concept first. And I think when you think about social CRM, it's definitely not just your fans. Between the brands and the fans, obviously you have the fan base first, but not all fans are created equal. So some of these fans are actively engaging with your brand. They're loyal fans. And in turn, when they repost, when they comment, when they share your content, they influence more people. So what I call the second layer is engaged non-fans. So these are the people who have not yet become the brand's fans, but they have in some ways interacted with brand's content by commenting on it or repost it or go to your page or participate in an event. All these are engagements. Again, these are the people the brand's content already touched upon. They might just not have become your fans yet. And obviously, ultimately, outside of that, these two layers, within the 500 million user pools, there are more potential target audience for the brands. And brands really, when you think about social CRM, you really need to try to connect the dots also between these engaged non-fans as well as your potential audience. And these are the people, they're no longer, brands should not look at them traditionally as how they used to look at them through some old data fields like phone numbers, address, or purchase histories. And within social media now, you have more information about what they like, their interests, their social interactions with your brand. As I said, I listed some of those social interactions format earlier. They can repost, comment, participate in different events, and things like that. So these are what I call the social interactions with your brand, as well as the social graph and social influence. So how they are connected with other people on the social media platform. So looking across all these different data type, and then I think you have more holistic view of your target audience. When you know these different information, I think brands need to start thinking more about their customers in two-dimensional space rather than one-dimensional space. The first dimension is the traditional, everybody knows about this, what I call the user relationship with the brand, right? So brands always try to get more people to know about their brand, move them from the awareness stage to considering their brand, maybe to preference, to purchase. Obviously, you can add loyalties and things like that. But that's what I call it is the user relationship with the brand. But I think there's another dimension on social media, is what I call the user's social role for your brand. So again, in social media brands, you don't need to just manage the customer relationship on your own. Other people, they can play that role for you as well. So some people, they're passive participants. They might be just receiving your content. They might not be very super active, interact with your brand, but that's okay. They're still there. A lot of them, they are active participants, so they will also, maybe proactively initiate engagement with your brand. One example I like to use a lot is Nike. A lot of loyal Nike fans, and they buy a pair of shoes. They post a picture. They add Nike account on Weibo. So again, that action, those are active participants. They love the brand. They want to talk about your brand. They will initiate the conversation. But when you also send them the information, when they also see other information, it will also help you to broadcast that. And the last group is the key influencers. So these, again, are big accounts with a lot of followers, celebrities. Again, their influence in social media obviously is very significant, especially in markets like China. The point for brands to think about these two-dimensional space is, I think, brands can start creating different kind of assets, different kind of experiences, digital social experiences to target these people. So again, the message should not always be the same for different users. Not only considering their relationship with your brand, also think about what they can do for your brand on social media. So I want to also quickly touch upon social CRM because I've been thinking about that a lot as well. Social CRM has been a buzzword, I think, recently, but I found that a lot of different people have different interpretations of social CRM. A lot of times when people say, well, I do some monitoring and listening, we do some responses, that's social CRM. I think that's part of it. I think that's definitely one form of social CRM, but I think that's not all. So what is the traditional CRM, maybe before we jump into the social CRM? I think that I try to break this down to 3 different categories. The first one being customer acquisition. That probably includes marketing efforts, lead generations, and then when you have these customers, what I call customer value optimization. So now they are your customers. How do you send them more targeted offers to get them to respond more? How do you cross-sell and upsell, increase the customer value? And they obviously have the customer retention. You want them to be your customer longer, buy more stuff over time. Service, customer service and support, loyalty programs, all these things. Obviously this is not comprehensive, but I'm just listing some of the things that I think that probably fall within the traditional CRM program. Now, I think within the new social space, I think all these things will still exist, but now I think the traditional CRM is amplified through social. So these foundational needs, as I mentioned, they're still there. A lot of brands they are still doing these things on a social media platform. But I also think there are some unique characteristics and social amplifications on top of that. Social listening, we talked a lot about that already. Sam just talked about, all those insights and from a social listening perspective. Crisis management, I know a lot of brands are doing that. KOL activation and management. Again, how do you identify, activate KOLs, help them to amplify your voice, as I said earlier. So I think these are the different things. Again, as I said, this is definitely not comprehensive, but I just want to throw out some of these things for food for thought in terms, I think when brands thinking about social CRM, I think we need to think a lot broader than just the social response or the social customer service aspect of that. So when you find these people, when you have this information, what do? I think there's a lot of different actions brands can take now. Don't just think about conversations. Think about the engagement interactions there as well. I'm going to talk about social commerce in a minute, so people can buy things now. on social media directly, and then also how do you amplify all those efforts through the social graph of the users. Channels to reach them, again, I talked about the feeds earlier, so again, more targeted feeds. Private messages, again, this is another channel that obviously can have targeted communications with different people. Apps, so again, these are the pages on social media platforms like Sina Weibo. They're going to have more and more of these personalized website type of experiences. So finally, I want to touch upon the social commerce. That's also probably another buzzword. More and more brands are doing that. They're trying to do that. People mentioned about the Alibaba's investment this morning with Sina Weibo, but I think when you look across different platforms, brands are trying to find ways to sell, to close the transaction. And this also, again, fits into my theme when I think about how do you maximize this business value. So at the end of the day, let's turn these BFFs into buyers as well. But first of all, I think social commerce does not equal to e-commerce. Although it's all website, you can put a link there. Maybe you can click on this and go to another site to finish the transaction. But I think there's actually a lot of differences between the social commerce category and the e-commerce. They both generate dollars revenue, of course, but social commerce, more importantly, they create buzz, they create influence, which leads to more dollars. Two big areas to think about when you think about social commerce. First one is drive traffic. Second one is sell direct. Drive traffic, a lot of people are probably doing that already. Very quick two data points here. So towards the end of last year, 360buy, one of the largest e-commerce portal in China, challenged other players in the market for a price war. So basically they said, we'll have the lowest price on our products. And then on that day, and again, that's the CEO started saying that on Weibo, and then a lot of buzz going on. On that day, we saw a 5-time increase in terms of traffic, all pretty much driven from Weibo. And then November 11th is the Singles Day in China, so it's 1-1-1-1. And last year, and there's another 1-1, so it's a very sad day. And apparently, you're supposed to go shopping on that day, whether for yourself, pretty much for yourself, I guess, it's for Singles Day. But anyway, so we saw Taobao is one of the largest e-commerce platforms. Over 25% of the traffic to that site that day was generated from Weibo. So that's driving to online destinations. You can also drive traffic to stores, offline stores, through issuing digital cards. Right? You can multiple ways of issuing that through the feeds, through messages. People can have that stored in the Weibo Pay, Weibo wallet, and then you can redeem them in store. And I want to talk a little bit more about sell direct. So very quickly, two examples. The end of last year, Xiaomi is the Chinese iPhone, Chinese Apple phone. Well, there's their own brand, obviously. Well, they released their second generation of the Xiaomi smartphone. Second generation, 50,000 phone was sold out in 5 minutes. But more importantly, there's a little typo here. It should be 1.3 million pre-orders, 24 million reposts and comments. So think about the buzz that's generated. So not only we can sell phones on Weibo, you can also sell cars. At the beginning of this year, 666 smart cars, special Weibo edition, was sold out in 8 hours, and they gathered over 6,000 leads. So the earlier slide, I just flipped through very quickly. So again, people can just click on, this is a special content feed, interactive feed within Weibo. They can just finish the transaction there. We have developed different pages solutions for brands to manage their Weibo storefront. On the back end, you can manage the product, manage the orders. I want to just quickly highlight the benefits of social commerce. Again, as I said, it's not just e-commerce. So what are the benefits? Most importantly, I think it's about creating massive brand buzz. Increase the grow significant quality fans. So people are talking about how do I grow real fans, quality fans. I think every single fans that actually make a purchase on Weibo of your product is a real fan and is a quality fan. Generate direct revenue, as I said, and also indirect because the buzz. So not only the product that you try to sell, but also more people know about your brand, share with their friends, and so all the subsequent indirect revenue is very important for brands there as well. And then once you have these purchase behaviors, purchase data of all your fans, different people, again, that in turn I think can also help you with the long-term social CRM initiatives as well. So finally, in closing, as I said, I think Sina Weibo, like this kind of social media platform, don't just have the dialogue with people, don't just think about growing the number of fans, think about how do you leverage from advertising to social CRM to social commerce, and actually, again, through all these different vehicles to maximize the business value. That's it. Thank you very much.